much better. Like this afternoon, evening have been much better.
Oh, good.
Okay, so we're gonna be going over the Mina O'Reilly at Logan's Airport, TSA, Harvard Business Reading. So first we're gonna talk about, I just wanna ask you guys what you think it would be like to work as a TSA agent, or if you think you would like it.
Nope.
You don't think you'd like it?
Nope.
Why is that?
I'm not really a huge fan of people.
Okay. Especially when they can be mean too, that doesn't.
Yeah, that would not be, no, that would not be a good case for me.
What about anybody else?
I think
I
I
don't
could.
think I'd like it too much.
Robert, you don't think you would like it?
Yeah, I think
No, I don't. Get bored.
Yeah.
That's too much responsibility.
Yeah, one mistake of not seeing somebody and you're in big trouble, right?
I get tired of yeah, I shouldn't say bored. I think I get tired of doing like looking for. I'd be tired of being on my toes all the time, I guess it's to say. So too much repetition for me.
Yeah.
Like physically tired.
I feel like you might even see people as worse than they are because you're always looking for somebody to be doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Change your perception of people.
I knew somebody who worked as a TSA agent in the San Diego airport.
Oh, yeah?
But she was getting ready she was going through the police academy at the time, so it's not like she wasn't looking for that kind of a job. But she said that people can be pretty mean.
Yeah, I bet. So can anybody think of anything that you might like about that job or that someone might like about that job?
Maybe just the bill. Go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say long hours, so you can get a lot of hours in to get paid. So.
What were you going to say, Robert?
I was gonna say getting to know, like, if you're a people person, it's a good thing because you talk to a lot of different people.
Yeah. Okay,
My
so
dad's one of those kind of people that, like, he can't go anywhere and he doesn't know somebody.
I didn't even think about that. I guess you would meet a lot of different people and might meet some really reputable people that you could use later on.
Yeah, that's true. So now we're going to talk kind of about what happened in the Harvard Business article. What do you think O'Reilly or Mina O'Reilly should do about Sanchez, the guy who didn't see the guy run into the room? What do you think she should do about it? So basically, Mina is Sanchez's supervisor, and she has to discipline him somehow because he was talking on his cell phone when he shouldn't have been, and someone ran into a door, and he didn't even see it. One of the other passengers saw it, or one of the other people saw it and reported it. So what needs to happen to him? What should she do?
Verbal warning. Verbal discipline is what yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
I agree with Kyle there. There has to be some sort of punishment. I wouldn't say punishment, but maybe a warning, because that was his first offense, and in the background we know that he's a very dedicated employee. So the supervisor's kind of torn of what she needs to do, as it said in the article, because he's a dedicated employee, but she's got to do something. So I think I agree with Kyle there that there needs to be at least a verbal warning, if not something more. I don't know what that would be.
Mm-hmm.
I think it needs to be documented.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
My friend.
I think it needs to be documented. It needs to be more than just a verbal. I thought in the case too that it had mentioned that he'd had other issues, just none that serious.
Yeah, for some reason I thought that too. But I'm having a hard time finding it. Okay, well,
Well, I wouldn't be opposed to either to do a formal decision, a formal DML, where he has a 1 pay leave suspension with or with pay, or maybe even without pay. But I think that's big enough to catch his attention.
I thought about that too, but at the same time, he really likes his job, and so of
Mhm.
course he's going to come back. I guess maybe to see if he's willing to stick with the rules and take them seriously, because he was on his phone knowing that he shouldn't have been.
Right.
So maybe not necessarily, are you going to keep your job, or are you going to come back to your job or not? Or maybe more like, are you going to take the rules more seriously and stick with your job, or are you going to just go find somewhere else that doesn't have as strong rules maybe?
All right.
Okay. So we didn't hear from you, Nick. Or did you say something about it?
No, but
What do you think?
well, I don't think if he got write up, I don't think that would be enough for him to take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And if he knows he's the best out there, then he's going to be, I don't know, he's more likely to do it again, make a small mistake or a big mistake like that. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Was that an I agree, Abby?
I found the other it says that she knew he had been recertified 2 years ago due to poor performance on screening audits, but she'd always considered that an isolated incident on an otherwise strong record.
Okay.
So it was only one other time, and it was 2 years before. So I don't know that I think, 2 years between issues, they're both likely isolated incidents.
Yeah, that's a pretty long time to go without anything else happening, especially in a job where you're constantly dealing with that kind of stuff. To be able to catch it every other time is pretty good.
Right. And I mean, not even your vehicle insurance company longer than 18 months, for an accident.
So, Nick, what do you think? What should be the little bit more that they do to make him take it seriously? Do you have any ideas?
Well, I know that he's trying to save up for his daughter's college, so I think like what Kyle said, like maybe put him on leave for a little bit, but without pay, and so
Okay.
that way he doesn't make that mistake again to be on his phone.
Okay, so you're thinking maybe without pay, that way it'll incentivize him a little bit.
Right.
Okay. So nobody thinks he should get fired, though, right?
No.
No.
Okay. So let's see. Sanchez's negligence in this case resulted in a 45-minute closure of the terminal, significant travel delays across the country, and embarrassment to the airport TSA. How bad would it have to be to fire him? So if we decide that what all that stuff that happened because of his negligence, we're not going to fire him, how bad would it have to be for us to actually decide, yeah, we should fire him?
Question.
Yeah, that is a really good question, because so far we've been thinking about the employee, not about what actually happened.
Yeah.
Didn't it turn out to be not that serious of a deal?
Yeah, it turned
Even
out
though
the guy
it-
was just late for a flight and he ran through the wrong door. It wasn't actually it wasn't a bad guy trying to do something, but still it could have been.
Right.
Well, he got lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he gets to keep his job out of luck. I don't know.
So if it had been some sort of terrorist, but they caught the terrorist before he did anything bad, would that have made us want to fire him?
Probably.
Yeah, a lot of people would have viewed it as, even though he has a pretty good record, like that one big mistake would
Yeah,
overturn everything that he ever did. So.
Maybe the airport would have taken a harder hit, like they would have needed to fire him in that case, because people wouldn't have been okay with them not firing him.
Exactly.
So I think we've kind of come to the conclusion that the severity of the consequence definitely makes a difference in the result, whether we're going to fire him or not, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so but we're all still feeling like we probably wouldn't fire him even after, or maybe we're a little closer to firing him, but maybe not quite.
Yeah.
Bro.
Okay. So was the security breach entirely Sanchez's fault?
I would.
It doesn't sound like it, because if it was a passenger that saw it, then there were other people not paying attention too.
Yeah, it seems like there's got to be more people that can see that area than just him, right?
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Did it say he was the only one, I guess, working, like the only official person working there at that time, or were there other employees helping him?
There's a map in the back. One of the attachments back is like a map of who's standing where. It's on page 10. And the exit lane, how did he even get over there? I don't know. No, there's at least 3 other agents that could have seen it.
So then,
go ahead.
oh, I was just then. I mean, according to that, then I don't think all the blame should be on him. I mean, I think everybody should assume some sort of responsibility.
Yeah. My understanding was that he was in charge of that area, so he was like in charge of watching for stuff in that area, but other people were in visual view of what was happening too. Okay, so that's kind of a weird question. I guess what could all of the TSA agents do? What could they have done to prevent the situation? What could they have done better as a team?
Maybe communicate a little bit better.
Yeah, he could have told somebody he needed to take a call.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Other than that, we don't really know exactly like their whole, exactly their everyday operations. So it's kind of hard to say what they would do better other than communication.
Yeah, agreed. So kind of, we're supposed to spend 10 minutes on this, but I feel like that's a hard thing to, because it asks, like, are there appropriate policies in place to prevent a security lapse? We don't really know what their policies are. So I guess maybe we could come up with some policies that we think they should have in place, or maybe create if they don't already, to prevent something like that happening again. So we already know that they aren't allowed cell phone calls unless it's emergency and they talk to their supervisor. What else do you guys remember about their current policies?
Let me check real quick.
Was there clear disciplinary action incorporated into that policy? I don't think I read anything about that.
Yeah, no, it was part of the quiz we had to take, but I remember kind of thinking, well, they probably weren't able to, but I don't remember actually reading that.
Looks like you need to read.
What was that?
I have another class that's pulled up, but every once in a while this lady will start talking. It's for accounting. Like this lady will start talking. I'm not doing it. It's just like sitting there. But
Meh.
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
I'll exit out of that so she doesn't do it again.
So I guess if we can't think of any that we remember from the article, what kinds of things do you think they should have? What policies should they have in place to prevent something like that happening again? Maybe it mentioned in there that he had been taking some extra shifts. Maybe they should have a set amount of time. Like they shouldn't be able to work overtime because they can't focus as well because they're tired and they're worn out.
Yeah. I actually remember thinking about that when I was reading that. Depending on how many hours you should have, definitely of a certain amount of hours they're allowed to work. I really like it.
Yeah. Or and like a certain period of time they have off in between their hours, because I think he worked like 2 shifts, but they were only like 6 hours apart or something, so he didn't really have time to sleep. So maybe that could be a policy they have in place. Any other thoughts? Okay, so let's just jump to the next one. What could a TSA do to make their job more meaningful?
Don't be pricks about it. Well, honestly, I don't know if any of you have flown recently or been in an airport recently, but I don't know. Customs and security people are freaking jerks most of the time.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
how I see it.
yeah, and I mentioned in there that Sanchez is actually a really lighthearted, laughing, and making it a better experience for people.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that could ever take away from the TSA's feeling like they have a really serious job, though, if he's kind of joking around and stuff?
No, I think they need it, to be honest.
Okay, so it's not going to affect the security, just help them be a little more lighthearted and not be so mean.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
As far as policy, though, I don't know. We're going to make somebody laugh more? I don't know.
Yeah. So let's jump on to this next question, because it's talking about hiring. So maybe the kind of people you hire might be a better way to do that. But how do you think TSA's hiring practices contribute to or hurt its mission?
Well, it contributes right now because it kind of helps entry-level people move up in the company pretty quickly and become managers and such. It could hurt the company for that same reason. That they don't have nearly as much experience in their job, so they don't, maybe he wasn't as experienced as although he's been there for years. But just in general, maybe they don't have enough time and training and in that position. I don't know, because people think of that entry level position as just a stepping stone, right?
Yeah.
So they don't take it nearly as serious. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be that he has been there for a long time, but maybe the other TSA agents that were in view of what happened, the reason they didn't see it either was because they weren't advanced enough in their position. So let me remind you of what the mission statement was. So their mission statement is protecting the nation's transportation systems to ensure freedom of movement for people and commerce.
Right.
So any other thoughts on how their hiring practice could contribute to or hurt that mission statement? Or how do you think they can get more people that aren't just looking for it as a stepping stone, but actually looking for that job as a career?
Recruit in different places.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, did it? And maybe where they're recruiting or their lack of recruiting, or where they're accepting people from has a bigger impact than they're giving it credit for.
Did it say anything about what the next promotion was after that?
This is manager.
I think depending on how serious, or I guess if they do want to get promoted, like I don't know why they have to go through that and not something else. So maybe direct people that are more serious about being a TSA agent for a long period of time, like obviously put them there, and then some other program they can do to move up or get promoted, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Maybe like a set of courses in order to, if you want to move, if you want to progress in the company, you have to go through like these 5 classes, to be a manager.
Okay, yeah, so there's a little more work required. You don't just jump up because you've been there for a year or two.
Right.
This says, someone asked the question, what's the first promotion? It says, beyond the initial promotion, they would, okay, wait. TSO. Wait, what's a TSO versus a TSA?
TSO is the one under the TSA, right?
Okay. So,
O is officer, A is administration.
okay, I found the wrong thing then. Never mind. That's not helpful. Sorry, never mind. Okay. So now I'm going to ask each of you this question, so think about it for a second, but what percentage of the breach do you think was Sanchez's fault, and what percentage was the TSA's fault jointly? So a number, like a percentage out of 100. And we'll just start with Abby.
I'd say at least 85-15 for Sanchez, because he's the only one there, and he knows he's the only one there. He's been with the TSA long enough that he could have moved up and decided not to because he wanted to be there working with people. It's a lower security rated position, but still he's the only one there, and he knew he was the only one there. And then the other 10 to 15% on the TSA, maybe he shouldn't be the only one there. And what if he had caught that guy, but there was another guy right behind him, and he wasn't there to catch the next guy? Where's his backup?
Yeah.
So there should probably be more than one person in that position.
Okay, what about you, Kyle?
Probably go 70-30 Sanchez. I think the company has holds a little bit more responsibility for that than what what's actually happening. Like, obviously they didn't have policies in place to minimize the breach. The breach itself is understandable. Like, they could have had more people there, like what was said, but so I just lack of preparation, I guess. I just feel like it's 70-30 about there.
Okay. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I would say like 80-20, because he was the person in charge. So I guess there is a lot more responsibility that the company puts on him. And if anybody else is working with him, they kind of look up to him as the person that's going to be in charge. So.
Okay. And Robert?
So I have a quick question. Was Sanchez standing in the exit lane monitor area?
Yes.
So why is the exit lane so important anyway when they're leaving the terminal?
Well, it's really easy to get in through the exit if somebody isn't watching it.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'd go with probably 65-45. Just
35?
because. What's that?
35?
No, 65-45. Or is it 45 or 35?
I think it's 35.
I'm not very good at math.
Yeah, you got it. 65-35.
Just because, now that Nick pointed it out, I mean, it is easy for people to get through the exit lane to bypass security because if they're late. So it is his job. So I vote that it is partially his fault. He knew he was not supposed to be on the phone, and he didn't tell anybody about it. So I'd go with that.
Okay. And then I was thinking kind of what Abby said too. I was thinking 85-15 because if he hadn't been on the phone, I'd be a little more lenient to give him less of a percentage. But the fact that he was deliberately, he was doing something that he knew he wasn't supposed to be doing. And if he hadn't been doing that, maybe he would have seen the guy. But if he didn't see the guy and he wasn't on the phone, I'd be more willing to give him a little bit more leniency in there. But okay. So our favorite, we get to do some role playing. I know. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to role play a discussion between Mina and Sanchez. So do we have any volunteers, or do you want me just to pick people?
Just pick.
Okay. So the rest I'm going to pick two people, but the rest of us are just going to observe the conversation and tell what we think at the end. But the person that's acting like Mina O'Reilly, it's going to be the moment where she's actually telling Sanchez when he shows up for work, she's going to tell him whether he gets to stay and do his shift or or he's going to get fired or what he needs to do, if he's going to have a suspension, or tell him what her decision is. So that's what the role play is going to be about. So I know you hate role playing, Abby, but it asked us to have a girl be O'Reilly. So if you wouldn't mind, if I could have you be O'Reilly, and then Nick will have you be Sanchez.
Got it.
So, and then after the role play, we have a few questions. So just pay attention, and we'll go over those once you guys are done with your conversation.
Okay. Give me just a second. Sorry, I just want to look through her stuff real quick. Her little
Yeah, no problem.
audio or whatever.
Sorry, I should have given you guys a heads up.
Okay, Nick, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
So am I gonna be
Essentially-
working today?
Yeah. Well, no, not today. Obviously, you're aware that there was a security breach, and I hate that. Hold on. Okay. No, you're not going to be working today, but I hope that you'll come back tomorrow. Obviously, you know there was a security breach, and it was serious enough that somebody got past us and was past us long enough to have made it to his flight. What makes things worse, obviously, is that nobody noticed it except for another traveler. So I'll actually be having conversations with everybody else in that area as well. However, I can't let this go completely. I can't let it go completely. There has to be some sort of repercussion. Your only other offense was 2 years ago, and it's completely unrelated. I know that you're a hard worker, and I know that you love what you do. You were not following policy. You were on your cell phone at the time that all of this happened, and you should not have been on your phone at that time. So I want to give you the rest of the day today to think about that and come back tomorrow recommitted to following proper procedure and policy while in any area, including the one that you were in that day.
Wow. Well said. I will definitely go and do that, and definitely look over the core values that I definitely forgot to look over concerning, especially team spirit, how we're all supposed to be working together in order to make the traveling and airport a lot safer for everyone.
Okay. Yep, I value you as a member of the team, and I hope that you'll come back tomorrow ready and willing to move forward from here. Whether or not your fellow TSOs hear of this, hear of the action, the disciplinary action that we're taking is up to you. However, I will be like I said, discussing it with them and asking them to be a little bit more diligent in keeping their eye on people based on the outline. This person not only should have been seen by you, obviously, in your position, but also should have been seen by the person that was in this position right here, or either one of the two that were over here. So I'll be talking to everyone. However, what they know about what's going on with you is up to you.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll see you tomorrow.
Well,
Okay. Thanks, guys. That was awesome. So as observers, Kyle, Robert, and I, what did you guys notice about the situation, or what did you think she did right? What do you think O'Reilly could have done differently?
It's pretty
Abby
much
was
perfect.
very, I was gonna say,
Yeah, I feel
Abby
like-
was very professional about it.
I feel like Abby like hit everything, and so
Yeah.
I mean, I had nothing to say. I was just like, well,
I've done this before.
Also, you were a good person to choose for the role play. I was like, wow, that was really good. I was actually writing stuff down.
Years, so
Yeah. I was actually writing stuff down as you were talking. I thought the things you did awesome was that you told him you hoped that he would come back. So you told him that you still wanted him to work for you, even though this situation happened. You also told him how serious the situation was, and that you weren't just holding him responsible. You were going to talk to the other people as well, but that he needed to be more vigilant in his efforts and understand that the security policies are there for a reason. And you told him his strengths, but you also told him what he did wrong specifically, and then asked him to be recommitted to the policies that are set in place. So it was like perfect.
Yeah.
wow.
I thought it was.
Thanks.
I was gonna say I thought it very interesting that Nick didn't try and talk back at all, like didn't try and defend himself at all. He just said, "Okay, I'll be better next time." And I think that's very professional of anyone to be able to take criticism and be able to turn it into a good thing.
From a management perspective, guys, one of the things that I've learned with experience is that if you stick purely to the facts and keep all emotion and attitude and everything, there is because all you've done is stick to the facts. You're not attacking them personally. When you attack somebody personally, like, you screwed up, dude. There's all kinds of, yeah, but he wasn't helping and you weren't there and you don't know and I've got this and I got this. If you attack it in any way personally or emotionally, they can come back with all kinds of things. But if you just stick to the facts, here's what happened, and we both know of this, we both know of that, here's what we've got to do in order to move forward from there, then there isn't really an opportunity for them to say anything. There isn't anything for them to say.
yeah, I totally agree.
That's a really good point. That actually answers one of the questions. One of the questions was, how would you tell someone you respect and care for that he's not performing? You just simply tell them the facts, right?
Yep.
So Abby, as O'Reilly, was it difficult to tell him those things? Or like, what thing was the most difficult? If you could put yourself in her shoes, what would be the most difficult thing to say to him?
Well, the hardest thing for me is to sit across from a single dad and tell him and be like almost having to tell him that he is going to lose his job. So I had this experience probably like 12, 15 years ago. I had to fire she wasn't single anymore. She essentially was single mom of 5 right before Christmas. Because she was on drugs and she was coming in late and abusing. She was a supervisor in this particular team and she was abusing her privileges. And so for me, sitting across from somebody that you know, in Sanchez's case, a single dad who's trying to just make ends meet, and as a single parent, that phone call could have been anything. And you always feel like you have to answer that phone call because you're the only one there for them. There is no other parent for them to turn to. So the hardest part is his personal life is sitting in the back of my head. No matter what happened, no matter what passenger got through or what plane, what happened to what plane or whatever, the person sitting in front of you is always the hardest part. And their personal life and why they have that job is the hardest part. Unless they're just some punk teenager that doesn't really care, then the conversation's a lot easier. But his personal life was the hardest thing to get a grasp on.
Yeah, good point. Okay, so just to kind of wrap it up, after our discussion, I'm going to ask each of you to tell me what your final decision is with regards to Sanchez, whether you feel like we should fire him, whether we should put him on probation, give him leave, require him to receive additional training, whatever you think would be best after our discussion. And we'll start with Robert.
I say get him on probation.
Okay. So probation, like what does your probation look like?
Well, he knows what he did was wrong, and so I think being able to, as like Abby when she was role playing, that he can't come to work the day after. It needs to be a couple days. So I guess maybe it should be like a suspended leave or something.
Okay.
But I guess a suspended leave. I like the suspended leave idea.
Okay.
So for
Gotcha.
a couple days.
Okay, and then Nick?
Generally, like a paycheck is like what, 3 weeks?
2 weeks.
3 weeks. So I would say like a 2-week probation, and then once he gets back, to have like a training. I go over the basics with him again, like all the policies, and then put him out on the floor.
Okay, yeah, like because it's a serious thing, like give him a little more serious consequence.
Yeah.
Okay, what about you, Kyle?
Probably do a 1-day suspension, unpaid leave. I know in the, what do you call this? The abstract of the discipline without punishment. I know in there it kind of talks about how, if you just do a 1-day leave with pay, it's really effective. And maybe that could be the best way to go about it, but I still think 1 day without work have him think about what he did and stuff would be the most important thing. About paying him, I would probably have to talk to management and see what they think about it. I don't really see any benefit or any benefit of not paying him or paying him. So as long as he has a 1-day suspension for him to think about it, I think that's good.
Okay, and then what about you, Abby?
Well, I think I'd give him 2 or 3 days. I think 2 weeks is a little bit too long because it gives him too much time to stew over it. I think 2 days, 3 days max gives him enough time to think about it without him flipping and becoming angry about it. So yeah, like 2 or 3 days, but then I didn't even think about the retraining. I think when he came back, I think I'd have him go through the recertification again. It seems like the same punishment, but it's a different crime. And so I think it's different, but I still think that the recertification would be beneficial to him. Plus, I hate to use the phrase make an example of him, but you kind of have to. Like, you have to show that you're serious. And if people are going to be on their cell phones, 2 days or 3 days off isn't enough. They need to be recertified and almost start over.
Mm-hmm. Do you think he should be paid for those 2 or 3 days or not paid?
No.
Okay. Okay, so now I get to tell you guys what ended up happening. So, Sanchez got a warning, but he was not fired. However, 2 months later, he caused another serious breach.
Ugh.
So,
wow.
knowing that, the reason I didn't give you my answer on that last one is because, like, I read that before, like, I was reading over all this, so it totally affected my decision. So now that you know that, would your decision change?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd fire him after the next one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we don't know exactly what happened, but it says he caused it, so it must have been majority his fault again. So what? This is kind of a hard question for me after going through all of this. So what does this case teach us about discipline? It's kind of like spits it back in your face, right? We tried so hard, and he still.
Kid, you can tell him to do everything. You can tell him to do whatever you want. Whether or not they're going to do it, it's still on them.
Yeah.
But if you provide every opportunity for growth and advancement, then there's nothing that they can come back at you with.
That dang agency. Thing that we've been given.
Yeah. There was something I was gonna say, and now it's gone. Anyways, so to kind of wrap it up, I want to hear what each of you think was the most important thing you learned from this case. Let's start with Nick.
I would think not to get too comfortable in any seniority like position. I guess no matter how long you've been at a company or a job, like the job I'm working at right now, I'm becoming a little more lax because I'm used to what I'm doing, and it's almost become like a routine. And so I think, yeah, like not to get too comfortable, and then to review the basics and look over like what you learned in the beginning and make sure you're doing all those things. So that way, yeah, like nobody can come back at you for not doing something that you should be doing.
All right, good. What about you, Kyle?
I think honestly, the biggest takeaway I have is having a leave paid, what do they call a DML, but with pay. I wouldn't ever have guessed that time paid off would be just as or more effective than time not paid off, or time off without pay. And so I don't know. I think that for me, honestly, from the whole case, I think that's my biggest takeaway, to be honest. So.
Yeah, that was interesting to me too. Okay, what about you, Robert?
Oh, I don't know. I couldn't help but think that there's so many different ways to discipline somebody, and it's manager's job to figure out the best way for the individual company. And I think it's all just depends on what the circumstance really is. I mean, what we've discussed, like with the facts, based on what Abby said, it's all about the facts. It helps. And so I don't know. I like that, I guess.
Okay. What about you, Abby?
I think it was a good reminder to me, kind of like what Kyle was saying. Nick, everybody's replaceable. You might think that nobody can do what you do, but there's somebody out there that can. They trained you to do what you're doing. They can train somebody else. And there might even be somebody out there that's better at it than you are. So keep doing your best and don't let your guard down, because you are replaceable.
Yeah, that's good. Really puts it in perspective. I was thinking what I learned was kind of what Abby said about it's on them whether or not they're going to take that discipline. And so you can either, as an employee, you can either take that discipline and make yourself a better employee and learn from those mistakes, or you can continue to be just as careless as you've always been and be one of those people that you end up getting fired. So just kind of, it's totally up to the employee whether they're going to turn that around and make it a learning situation or not.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I need you guys each to rate the overall quality of today's discussion from 0 to 10. So, Robert, what do you say?
7.
7. Okay, Nick, what do you say?
I say a 10.
Okay, what about you, Kyle?
Probably go 8.
And Abby?
I'd give it a 9, but I had to role play, so I'm gonna go with an 8.
Okay. Totally understandable. Okay, what did I do as a discussion leader that you liked?
If I had a question, you try to go and look it up, like
Okay.
trying to find it for me.
Yeah, you weren't afraid to go back to the case, factual things.
You kept us moving.
Yeah, I like that too.
Okay. All right, and then what can I do better next time? I think I can give you guys a heads up on the role play and give you that before so you could look it up.
Just don't get sick next time.
Yeah.
I know, right? Oh, I would gladly not get the stomach flu again.
Speaking of looking ahead really quick, I looked ahead at next week. And
I have it.
who's in charge next week?
I am Kyle.
Oh, you're gonna want to look at that early.
Oh, perfect.
Is it next week pretty
There's
awful?
not,
I haven't looked at it yet.
Is it a tough one?
it's well, we have to do labor negotiations, and there has to be 2 leaders next week, and I am volunteering to not be one of them.
Mhm.
Well, I'm after Kyle, aren't I?
I think so.
So then why don't we just do it? We can do it together, Kyle, if you want.
I don't. Okay, sounds good.
Like if there needs to be 2.
Right. Okay, well, let me look at it. Like I said, I haven't looked at it yet. I'll look at it, and then I'll probably email you on Saturday with kind of trying to divide it up and stuff.
Okay. And as far as the paper goes, like, when are we gonna start on that?
So it needs to be in by Wednesday night, right? Our next section, Wednesday, Thursday.
Or did we decide on the topics yet? Or,
Oh, yeah, I think we'll just stick with. It looks like I'm looking at it right now. Compensation and benefits, wage and hour laws, organized labor. It looks like almost everybody, that's what they put down for problems. So if you guys are okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So next week's coming up with solutions, right? That
Right.
needs to be turned in by.
Before our meeting on Thursday.
it's due on the 3rd, right?
Yeah, whatever that following Monday is.
Yeah, the 3rd.
And then there's the last paper combined with like all 3. Is that what it was?
Oh. No,
Is there not another one after that, or is there just 3?
there is one
There's
more.
4.
And the last one is about layoffs and employee dismissals in workplace and society.